I just find it super fascinating that we're still at a place where a lot of people are just discounting and underestimating what is going on, including people in product. I hear some common things. Number one, there's some post about AI, and I'll read a comment which is like, well, that's all good, but nothing can replace real humans and human empathy and emotions. I'm sure you've seen some version of that somewhere. And then again, the people rally behind that opinion. So now it appears like elevated, and therefore, in this age of social media, it appears correct to us. It's like, okay, so many people are agreeing that like nothing can replace human emotion, nothing can replicate human emotion. Okay, cool. I have some news for you. I would say today, like I'm not talking about future models, today already, every model that I've tried shows greater human empathy than the median director or VP level person at a tier one company in the valley. That is today, right? And how do I know this? Because I have chatted with these LLMs and I've asked them questions about interpersonal situations. And this is with the intent of testing them, which is like, do you follow why this is the wrong response, the conventional response to your direct report? This is the wrong one. I just ask the question. I don't give it the answer. I just ask, like, there's something wrong here. And I know that the median director to VP level person at a tier one company in Silicon Valley would not be able to figure it out. And ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini will figure it out either upfront or after 2 or 3 nudges. And it's those 2 or 3 nudges that I also want to call out because it took me 2 or 3 reprompts, but at no point did I ever give it the answer. All I said is, no, Claude, this answer is incorrect. Try again. That's all I said. And then it eventually, after 2 or 3 maximum prompts, it reached a roughly very high quality answer of why it's incorrect and what is correct. Then I said, what if I did this with the median VP director person? Like, how would that conversation go? And that's when I realized that like that conversation is impossible because the individual is not going to be open. They're going to argue. And of course, I won't say you are wrong, etc. Let's assume that I'm very thoughtful about how I nudge them. But it will take me like 3, 4 hours. And even then, there is very little success of the individual developing that insight that is driven by empathy. So that's the state right now. It's pretty clear to me that basically a lot of these things that people say, oh, this is a uniquely human attribute or quality or skill. I just don't think that is true already today. So that's one observation I wanted to make. People are just underestimating how good this thing is. Second is people are also underestimating like how good this thing is going to be. There are a lot of people, even in product, who are like, well, it can't do math right or whatever. Can we use our imagination? Supposedly, one of our core attributes as product people is being able to use our imagination. So, what like progress is going to stop in 2 years? Or can you figure out like how powerful and how correct and good this thing is going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now? You don't need to be a domain expert to figure it out. This is again the quality of imagination. I usually don't use analogies, but sometimes I have to use an analogy to explain that it's no different than complaining in 1994 that these browsers suck and it takes me like 10 minutes to download an image, right? And it gets stuck half the way. And then the internet dial up connection drops. You could say that the World Wide Web is just like complete garbage in 1994. And maybe you even sound smart because like the critic always sounds smarter. But what's the point? So that's, I guess, another observation I make. Third, relevant to products, what I'll say is a couple of things. Number one, I think a lot of existing companies, the so called incumbents, one mistake they're making is they're just bolting AI on top of an existing product. And I understand why. Classic innovator's dilemma and user retraining tax at work, but they're bolting AI on top of existing UI and UX, and it's just not working well. As a user, I can see that. So that's one sort of challenge I'll pose to product leaders and founders and CEOs that if you are indeed going to commit to this kind of, oh, yeah, we are AI first, then in some cases, again, use your judgment, but in some cases, it's okay to be a little bolder. So that's one thing I'll say. Second thing I'll say is specifically in terms of its impact to PM and how product gets built and all of those considerations, I think people are also underestimating the degree to which teams of the future are going to be smaller and still able to get the amount of work done that they're getting done with 10x the size right now, or even more. I can totally see a team in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now that has 3 people, where right now that same team for the same output is 30 people or even more. That is very clear. That is not controversial generally from all the conversations I've had. But then I say, okay, so what are the second order effects of that for product leaders? Right. Well, the fewer the people you have, the less the coordination. So a lot of your time that you spend in coordination and in people issues and various other things and general day to day just management of people. So that has now reduced significantly. Okay, great. Now, some people say, okay, but maybe we'll just build more features. There'll be more code because there'll be more features, there'll be more capabilities. And by all means, yeah, I kind of subscribe to that too. But now, who's the entity that is going to decide what is good? Who's the entity that is going to decide what we are going to ship and why we are shipping that in a world where our capacity to ship is much greater? And the people who are super intelligent in this area, no pun intended, basically tell me that at some point that entity will be AI. At some point, like when we get to some version of super intelligence, that entity might be AI. I don't know. I'm not educated enough on this to have confidence. Who knows if it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? People don't seem to agree. Experts don't seem to agree. But in the meantime, it's got to be a human, right? The person who's kind of deciding what is good and why. And so, my question to people, and now you bring it to your personal self and your specific career, is are you going to be that person or not? Because that's going to be the highest leverage job, right? So are you the one who's going to have that job or not? And if that is something you are inclined to be, and you don't have to be, but if that is something you're inclined to be, what are the skills you need to be able to do a better job than most people out there? And I feel like people are not thinking critically about this. And again, all of this is very logical, right? You don't have to take any of this on faith other than the timelines, which I'm not an expert in, but the question is, are you building those skills? And that's where I think people are still not building those skills. And, yes, using AI tools is good and using AI tools in your daily workflow is great. And you should all do this. It's kind of like saying you should download and use a browser and go to websites in the year 1994, 95, 96 when if you were in tech. Of course you should do that. Of course you should do that. That's where most people are stopping. They are not thinking about skills beyond using current AI tools for productivity related reasons. They're not thinking about what are the unique human skills that are still going to be important, such that you are the one who is the person deciding what is good, what we are going to build in a world of near infinite capacity. So, those are some thoughts that I would leave people with.